Hi you guys, this video is going to help you with your percents module practice test. I will be pulling some questions for your percents module test right from this practice test. So if you know how to do all of the questions on the practice test, you will be really prepared for your test. So let's just go ahead and start with question 1. There are two parts to this question. It says that we need to write 9.1 as a decimal, and we need to write 0.216 as a percentage. So remember that if we want to go from a percent to a decimal, we need to divide by 100. So if you take 9.1 and you divide by 100, your decimal place is really just going to move 2 places to the left. So this is going to become 0.091. And if you take 9.1, divide by 100 in the calculator, you'll see that you get 0.091. If we want to go from a decimal to a percentage, we have to multiply by 100. So if you take 0.216 and you multiply by 100, your decimal is really just going to move 2 places to the right. So this becomes 21.6%. Okay, the next question says, a chemist is using 351 milliliters of a solution of acid in water. If 15.2% of the solution is acid, how many milliliters are there? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, now as we go back here, our question is how many milliliters of acid are there? A chemist is using 351 milliliters of a solution of acid in water, and 15.2% of the solution is acid. Okay, now the word of, that is a key word in this problem. The word of means multiplication. So what we need to do here to find out how many milliliters of acid there are is we need to take the 351 and we need to find 15.2% of 351. Remember, the word of means times, and before we can multiply these two together, we need to get rid of the percent sign on the 15.2%. So we're going to divide by 100. That will give us 0.152. We're then going to times that by 351. Okay, and when you put that in your calculator, you get 53.352. And this particular question asks you to round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay? So this is the tenth spot right here. And since the number after the tenth spot is bigger than 5, or it's 5 or bigger, we are going to round this to 53.4. So that means there are 53.4 milliliters. Okay, so for the next one, it asks you to write 4 1/4% as a decimal, or not as a percentage. So 4 1/4 is the same as 4.25. Remember, the fraction 1/4 as a decimal is just 0.25. So if we want to write this not as a percentage, we need to take the 4.25 and divide by 100. So that's going to give us 0.0425. Okay, now on question number 4, we are going to need to write an equation for the situation and then solve that equation. Remember that when you are writing percent equations, the word of means multiply. The word is means equals. And if it says what or what percent, that is going to be your variable. Okay, so when you're writing percent equations, you're going to need to translate these sentences into equations and then solve the equations. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these words. We're going to translate A into an equation. So 28.52 is, remember instead of is, that's going to be an equals, and then 36.8% of means times, and then what number? Okay, so that equation will be 28.52 is, instead of the is, we're going to put an equals, and then we have 36.8% of, number of means times, and then what number? That's going to be an x. I've run out of space here a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and erase. Okay, and so now, in order to solve this, we would change the percent to a decimal by dividing by 100, so 0.368. Of means times, so 0.368 times by x equals 28.52. And then from there, we need to get rid of the multiplication of 0.368, so we divide by 0.368 on both sides. Now, in order to do this division, you're going to put the 28.52 in the calculator first, and then divide by 0.368. Okay, and we get 77.5. Okay, so x equals 77.5. Now, let's go ahead and do B. Okay, B says 27 is what percent of 18.75? So when we translate this into an equation, we're going to have 27, the word is means equals, what percent, that's going to be where our variable goes, of means times, and then we have 18.75. Okay, so our equation is 27 equals 18.75 times by x. And then from there, all we have to do is divide by 18.75 on both sides. Okay, and we get 1.44. And now this question asked us what percent. And since this is a decimal, in order to put the right answer in, Alex, you need to change this to a percent. So you would times by 100, and that gives you 144%. Okay, so just as a review, if you want to go from a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100. If you want to go from a decimal to a percent, you times by 100. When you are doing these percent equations, you write your equation and then you solve it. Remember that the word is gets replaced with an equal sign. The word of gets replaced with multiplication. And if it says what or what percent, you are going to replace that with a variable. Okay, question number 5 says, use the ALEKS calculator to find 66% of 85. Do not round your answer. So if you're finding 66% of 85, the word of means times. So 66% of 85. So we would change this percent to a decimal by dividing by 100. So 0.66, the word of means times. So we're going to multiply 0.66 times 85. Okay, and that gives us 56.1. Okay, question number 6. An item is regularly priced at $65. It is on sale for 50% off the regular price. So there are a couple of different ways that you could do this. If we are going to find the sales price, that means we want to know what the item costs after the 15% off, after the discount. Okay, so one way we can do this is we can find 15% of 65. That's going to tell us how much we're going to save. And if you find 15% of 65, when you change this to 0.15 times 65, you get $9.75. That is the 15% off. So now to find the sales price, you take the $65 and you subtract the 15% off, and that will give you the sales price. Okay, so that means my final price is $55.25. Okay, that's one way to do this question. Now I'm going to show you another way. Okay, if the item is priced at $65 and it's on sale for 15% off the regular price, $65, that's 100% of the price. If it's on sale for 15% off, that means the amount that you're going to pay is really just 85% of 65. So this is another way that you could do this question. So you would change 85 to 0.85, you would multiply by 65, and you end up getting $55.25. So either way you do this, you get the same answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one like question number 7. This is one of those types where you need to take the words and you need to write an equation using those words, and then you just solve that equation. Okay, so again, you're going to replace the word is with an equal sign. You're going to replace the of with multiplication. You're going to replace the word what or what percent or what number. Anytime it says what in any situation, you're going to replace that with a variable. Okay, so for A, 15% of 80 is what? So 15%, the word of means times. We have the number 80. And then we have the word is. Remember, that's going to be our equal sign. And then we have the word what. So that's going to be our variable. And now all we have to do is change 15% to 0.15 times by 80. And that will tell us our answer. Okay, so this would be 12. Okay, and then this says 15% of 80 is what? Okay, so that means that 12 is 15% of 80. So let's go ahead and do the next one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do part B. It says 85% of, remember the word of, that's going to be times, what number? Remember, whenever you have what number, that's going to be your variable. And then you have the word is, and that's going to be an equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and translate this into an equation right up here. So 85% of is times, what number is an x, is an equal sign, and then we have 34. Okay, now for this one, we're going to change the 85% to 0.85. So 0.85 times by x equals 34. Now to solve this equation, to get the x all by itself, this is 0.85 times by x. So we need to divide by 0.85 on both sides. Now in your calculator, you want to put 34 in first and then divide by 0.85. Okay, so when you put 34 divided by 0.85 in your calculator, you get 40. So 85% of what number is 34? Well, 85% of 40 is 34. Okay, so now for these next ones, question 8 says the next model of a sports car will cost 12.6% less than the current model. The current model is $42,000. How much will the price decrease in dollars? What will be the price of the next model? Okay, so if the next model of a sports car is going to be 12.6% less than the current model, and the current model is $42,000, we have to figure out what 12.6% of $42,000 is. That will tell us our decrease in price. So to do this, we want to change the 12.6% to 0.126, and then we're going to times that by 42,000. Okay, and that gives us $5,292. Okay, that is the 12.6% less. So if the next model of a sports car is going to be 12.6% less than the current model, that means we have to take the price of the current model and we have to subtract the 5,292 to find the price of the next model. So the decrease in price is 5,292. And then the price of the next model is $36,000. Sorry, my 3 didn't work out very well there. Okay, so $36,708. That's the price of the next model. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at question number 9. It says a Camry has a listed price of $876.98 before tax. If the sales tax rate is 8.75%, find the total cost of the camera with sales tax included. Okay, so to find the amount of the sales tax, remember sales tax is always the additional amount that you pay on your item. And sales tax is just a percentage of the price. So if we're going to figure out how much we pay in sales tax, we're going to have to find out what 8.75% of $876.98 is. So we take the 8.75%, we change it to 0.0875, we then times that by $876.98. Okay, so we're going to do 0.0875 times by 876.9. Now in the calculator, this gives us 76.73575. And remember, when we're talking about money, money always rounds to the hundredth spot. Here's our hundredth spot. And since the number after the hundredth spot is 5 or bigger, that means our 3 is going to round up to a 4. So the sales tax amount is $76.74. That's the sales tax amount. But the question asked us to find the total cost of the camera with the sales tax included. Okay, so that means we have to take our price before tax, we have to add the sales tax, and that is going to give us the total cost. Okay, so the final answer for this one is $950. Sorry, I need to grab a different pen here. So $953.72. Okay, question number 10 says the next model of a sports car will cost 4.9% more than the current model. So the next model is going to be more than the current model. The current model costs $59,000. How much will the price increase in dollars? What will the price of the next model be? So if the next model is going to be 4.9% more, we have to figure out what 4.9% of 59,000 is. So we take the 4.9%, we divide by 100, that becomes 0.049. We then times by 59,000. That's going to tell us our increase. Okay, and that is 2,891. That is our increase in price. Now, if the current model is 59,000 and there is an increase in price of 2,891, to find the price in the next model, we need to add those two together. And that gives us $61,891. Okay, so for the next ones, you are writing equations for these, and then you're going to solve the equations. Remember that when you're writing the equations, you replace the word is with an equal sign. You replace the word of with multiplication. You replace what, anytime it says what number, what percent, or just what with an X. So 33.52 is, that's going to be an equal sign. What percent, that's going to be our variable. And then the word of, right here, means times. So here we go. 33.52 is what percent of 8? Okay, so this is the equation that we now solve. If we want to get this variable x alone, we have to get rid of the multiplication of 8. So we're going to divide by 8 on both sides. Okay, and that gives us 4.19. And now the only thing we have to pay attention to is this said what percent. And what we have here is a decimal. So to change this into a percent, we need to times by 100. So we would have 419%. Okay. Now for the next one, 52.5% of what is 25.83? So 52.5% of, okay, remember the word of means times. What, remember that's our variable, is, remember that's our equal sign, and then we have 25.83. So we're now going to change that percentage to a decimal. So 0.525 times by x equals 25.83. And then all we have to do is divide by 0.525 on both sides. Okay, and that gives us 49.2. Okay, so this should be 49.2. Okay, on the next one, a price of an item has dropped to $39 today. Yesterday it was $130. Find the percentage decrease. So remember from these, you want to subtract the yesterday price and the today price. So you're going to take 130 and you're going to subtract 39, and then you're going to divide by the original price or the starting price. And since yesterday is before today, the starting price is 130. So when you take 130 minus 39, you get 91. And then when you take 91 divided by 130, you get 0.7. And we needed to find a percentage of decrease. So now we just change this decimal to a percent by multiplying by 100. So 700% decrease. Okay, on question number 13, it says a TV has a listed price of $561 before tax. If the sales tax rate is 7.5%, find the cost of the TV with sales tax included. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out how much we're going to pay in sales tax. So we do 7.5% of the price before tax. So this would be 0.075 times by $561.95. That's going to give us sales tax. Okay, and in my calculator, I got 42.14625. But since we're talking about money here, we want to round this number to the hundredth spot. And since the number that is after the hundredth spot is 5 or bigger, this is going to be $42.15. Now this is just the sales tax. But the problem asked us to find the total cost of the TV with sales tax included. Okay, so that means we need to add this and this together, and that will tell us the total price of the TV. And that is $604.10. Okay, question number 14. A file that is 283 megabytes is being downloaded. If the download is 17.4% complete, how many megabytes have been downloaded? So we need to figure out what 17.4% of 283 is, and that will tell us how many megabytes have been downloaded. Okay, and we're supposed to round that to the 10th. So 49.242. If we round that to the 10th, our 10th spot is right here. So that is going to be 49.2. Okay, so this next one says write 38% as a fraction in simplest form. Remember that if you have a percentage is just something out of 100. So if it's 38%, that's just going to be 38 out of 100. And then that would give us a fraction, and then it says to write this in simplest form. So we know that 2 goes into 38 19 times, 2 goes into 150 times. Now another way you could think about this is if we want to write 38% as a fraction, we can first write it as a decimal by dividing by 100. So that would be 0.38. And then we would have 38 hundredths. Okay. For the next one, the price of an item has been reduced by 65%. So if an item has been reduced by 65%, that means it is going to be less than the original price. So to find the price of the item now, we have to figure out what 65% of 73 is, and then we are going to subtract that from 73. So 0.65 times 73 is $47.45. That's how much we are going to reduce the original price by. So now we take the $73 and we subtract the $47.45 and we get $25.55. Now another way that you could think about this is if a price of an item has been reduced by 65%, that means you're going to save 65%, which means you're only going to pay 35%. So you could also do 35% of 73 and you will get 25.55. Okay, so the next one writes 57.5% as a fraction in simplest form. So if we're going to write this as a fraction. Okay, so on this one, write 57.5% as a fraction in simplest form. If we change 57.5% into a decimal, we're going to get 0.575. And to write this as a fraction, this is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So the fraction would be 575 divided by 1,000. It's 575 thousandths. And when we simplify that, we get 23/40. Okay. For the next one, the price of an item has dropped to $91 today. Yesterday, it was $140. Find the percentage of decrease. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the big number. We're going to subtract the smaller number. And then we are going to divide by the original amount. So if we take the 140, we subtract the 91, and then we are going to divide by the 140. That will give us our percentage of decrease. Okay, and now it's going to give us 0.35 as a decimal. And then to change that to a percent, we multiply by 100, so 35%. Okay. Question 19. 18 is what percent of 40? So we would do 18, instead of the is, we're going to do an equals. Instead of the what percent, we're going to do an x. Instead of the of, we're going to do a times, and then we have 40. So all we have to do now is get rid of the multiplication of 40 by dividing by 40 on both sides. So 18 divided by 40 is 0.45. Now the only thing we have to remember here is this asks for what percent, and this is a decimal. So to change 0.45 to a percent, we would multiply by 100. So 18 is 45% of 40. Okay, the next one. What is 55%? The word of means times 60. So all we have to do on this one is change the 55% to 0.55, and then we times by 60, and that gives us 33. Maria borrowed $500 from a bank for 3 years and was charged simple interest. The total interest that she paid on the loan was $60. As a percentage, what was the annual interest rate of her loan? So remember on these ones, these are the simple interest ones. Simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So all you have to do on these questions is plug in the thing that you know and then solve for the thing that you don't know. So Maria borrowed $500 from a bank, so that's your principal, times by the rate, the R, that's something that we don't know, and then the time was 3 years. Okay, so we know the time is 3 years, we know the principal is 500, and we know the interest was I. So the time in years, it was 3. And then our interest that she paid was 60. So now all we have to do is solve this equation. 500 times 3 is 1500. So 60 equals 1500 times by R. And to solve for the R, you divide both sides by 1500. And that gives you 0.04. And because this is an interest rate, we know this needs to be a percentage of 4%. Okay, the next one, use the ALEKS calculator to find 55% of 47. So for that one, you're just going to do 0.55 times 47. And that gives you 25.85. Okay, on the last one, Maya opened a savings account with $2,000 and was paid simple interest rate of 2%. When Maya closed the account, she was paid $80 in interest. How long was the account open for in years? So let's plug the things that we know into this formula. We know the principal is $2,000. We know the interest rate is 2%. We know that when she closed the account, she paid $80 in interest. And the thing that we don't know on this one is time. So 80 equals 2,000 times by our rate of 0.02 times by time. So to solve this equation, we just have to take the 2,000 times by 0.02, and that gives us 40 times by t equal to 80. And then last step is to divide by 40 on both sides, so t equals 2. So that means her account was open for 2 years. Okay, now as you go through your ALEKS assignment, if there are any that you are not understanding or that you can't get correct, what I want you to do is I want you to take a screenshot of your problem and email it to me, and I can help you. And even better than doing that would be if you could take a picture of your work and the problem, then I can help you to figure out what went wrong. This should be done before, it's your assignment for today, so I'm hoping you can finish it today. And you need to finish this practice test before you take the test. And the test will be open on Monday. Yeah, have a great day. Please don't hesitate to email me. I am still working. I am still available. No, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Talk to you later.